Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are continuing to play out these short-term patterns after the new CPI inflation numbers were just released, which I'll talk about in just a moment, so definitely stick around. First of all, talking about the US CPI inflation numbers that were just released, which, by the way, the US CPI inflation number year over year came in at 4%, and the majority were expecting 4.1%. So a slight miss to the downside, which is very neutral, also slightly bullish, because, of course, the lower inflation, as I explained in my last video, the lower inflation, the more bullish that should be, and the higher inflation, the more bearish that should be. So if we saw something like a 4.5% inflation rate year over year, then we would have likely seen a large drop in the market in the short term. But of course, that did not happen. We saw a 4% year over year inflation rate, which once again is extremely close to the expectation. So we weren't really due to see a significant movement. And now if you zoom into the imminent short term, looking at the 1 minute Bitcoin chart, as you can see here, the moment the new inflation numbers were released, I tweeted them out over on my Twitter, and within around 1 to 2 minutes, we saw that slight pump to the upside because, of course, we saw a slight miss to the downside in inflation numbers, which is technically slightly bullish. But with that being said, it is not very bullish. It is much closer to neutral. And so basically, as you can see here at the time of recording this video, the price ultimately reverted back towards where we started at before the numbers were actually revealed. So once again, we got that initial pump, which was technically the expected move for a slight miss to the downsides, but because it was only very slight, it was only 0.1% below expectations, it's mostly neutral, which is why we saw this drop and rebound, and we're basically back where we started, very neutral just in the short term. And now these new inflation numbers were not the only important thing happening this week, because in around 1 day from now, we have a new Fed meeting, aka a FOMC meeting, and as of right now, the probability of a rate hike is only around 5%, and so there's a very high chance being priced into the market right now that there's actually going to be a skip or a pause in rates just for this coming Fed meeting, which basically means the Federal Reserve will keep interest rates the same with tomorrow's Fed meeting. And in my next video, I will provide a little bit more detail about all of this ahead of tomorrow's Fed meeting. So look out for that. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel with notifications turned on. But anyway, now getting into the Bitcoin part of this video, this is on the daily Bitcoin chart. And right now, the price of Bitcoin is still trading in between this support and this resistance. So obviously over the last 1 day, not much has changed on this chart, because if you also look at the daily Bitcoin price oscillators, right now the RSI is looking extremely neutral, while the MACD on the daily time frame is looking slightly bearish, but is still showing very low momentum. And now if you're staying on the daily time frame, looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool, we still have this 38.2% Fibonacci level on the linear scale sitting at around 25.1k, which should act as support. And also on the daily time frame, we're still seeing this falling wedge pattern continue to form, because right now the price is still trading in between this support and this resistance. First of all, this support is sitting at around 25,500, and this resistance is sitting at around 27.2k approximately. And as always, if we end up seeing a confirmed breakout above that resistance, then considering this is a falling wedge pattern, the technical price target would be at the top of the wedge, which is sitting at around 30,500. But obviously, as of right now, that potential technical price target is not yet active. It is not in play because we have not yet seen a confirmed breakout above this resistance. And now if you zoom into the shorter term, this is on the 8-hour time frame, and as you can see here, the price of Bitcoin has just recently run into this area of resistance, sitting in between around 26.1k to 26.5k. So at least in the imminent short term, I would expect the price of Bitcoin to struggle in this area. I would not be surprised if we do end up seeing some sort of rejection, because as of right now, while the price of Bitcoin is still below below this area of resistance, at least in the short term, the trend is looking more bearish than bullish because obviously we're seeing lower highs and lower lows. But with that being said, just over the last few days, of course, we have seen a bullish divergence play out here on the 8-hour time frame and on the 6-hour time frame, which basically meant just in the imminent short term, we were due to see reduced bearish momentum, which usually means either sideways price action or a slight bullish recovery, which is exactly what we've seen since this bullish divergence confirmed. And now, considering the fact that this is only really visible on the 6-hour time frame and the 8-hour time frame, I would not exactly expect this to play out too much longer, perhaps over the next 1 to 2 days. But remember, the price is running into this area of resistance, so I would only start to flip much more bullish again if we start to see confirmed breakouts above these areas of resistance. First of all, if we break out above around 26,500, then in that case, I'd flip more neutral again rather than bearish in the short term, because we'll basically be breaking back into this sideways price range. But if we end up seeing a confirmed breakout above this area, sitting in between around 27.2k to 27.6k, then in that case, I would start to flip much more bullish again in terms of the short-term trend. And once again, in terms of the longer-term trend on the daily time frame, obviously we're still in a larger bullish trend if you're looking at these larger higher lows and higher highs here on the daily time frame. And in case you're new to all of this, of course, we can experience a short-term bearish trend within a larger bullish trend, just like how we can experience a short-term bullish trend within a larger bearish trend. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, and it's basically the same thing here as to what I said for Bitcoin on the daily time frame. Obviously, we're still within a shorter term bearish trend that is within a larger bullish trend, because technically we're still seeing higher lows and higher highs on the daily time frame. But it's only when you zoom in closer into smaller time frames you start to see lower highs and lower lows, of course, in the shorter term. And now, if we end up seeing a confirmed break below this area of support, sitting in between around 1650 to 1.7k, then in that case, I'll start to flip much more bearish again in terms of the larger trend at play, because if we see a confirmed break below around 1650, at that stage, we would have seen a larger pullback than what we saw back here during late February to early March. But so far, at the time of recording this video, we have not yet even seen the same sized pullback from high to low as to what we've seen back here. So once again, this simply means that the short-term trend and longer-term trend haven't really changed over the last 1 day, and something similar can be said about the daily Ethereum price oscillators, because right now these are simply looking more bearish than bullish, as I also said over the last few days. So this is pointing towards a continued pullback just in the imminent short term, perhaps into this area of support that I just mentioned. And now, with that being said, between the current price and this area of support, we do also have this Fibonacci level of support at around 1730 that we cannot forget about. And now, if you're zooming into the shorter term, this is on the 6-hour ETH to US dollar chart, and obviously this break to the downside from this symmetrical triangle pattern is still active, with this active bearish price target in play. And once again, as I've said in recent videos here on the channel, this price target is sitting close to 1.6k, more specifically at around 1610. But once again, as I said in my last video on the channel, we do have a small bullish divergence here on the 6-hour time frame, because we have confirmed lower lows in the price of ETH in the 6-hour candle closes, while also confirming higher lows in the 6-hour Ethereum RSI. And so once again, like I said for Bitcoin, just in the imminent short term, this means that we're due to see reduced bearish momentum, which usually plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish recovery. And so once again, as I said in my last video, that's mostly what I'm expecting in the imminent short term as the most likely scenario, as in potentially over the next 1 to 2 days or so. But remember, that does not necessarily invalidate this bearish price target. So essentially what this means is that right now we're taking a pause from this bearish price action, but eventually we could end up resuming the bearish price action with another leg to the downside later on towards this technical price target, because this technical price target only becomes invalid if we either hit the technical price target or if we see a confirmed breakout back above this level, which is sitting at around 1830. So at least for now, while the price of ETH is below 1830, obviously the short-term trend is more bearish than bullish. It's just in the imminent short term, we're simply taking a bit of a pause from this bearish trend. But once again, as I said earlier, this is currently all occurring within a larger bullish trend that we've seen since November last year, which can of course contain shorter term bearish price action. And now if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left of your screen shows you how to make money automatically no matter what direction the price goes, and the video in the bottom left shows you how to make money in a sideways price range. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.